Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gather Poets podcast. I'm so excited today to have another in-person podcast with a very special guest, a poet and artist, Helen Billett. Welcome, Helen.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Maria. I'm so happy to be here and meet you in person finally.
I know. I feel like it's been so long. We've been talking about meeting up, and it's finally here. And it's one of those moments I feel like meeting someone, and it really does feel like you met in person before.
Exactly.
Poets just get it, right?
Yeah.
How are you feeling today?
Good. Yeah, I've never done anything like this before, so I'm like, but I think I just know with you it's going to be great.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I feel comfortable.
I'm really excited to just chat about all of the things that we're both passionate about: poetry, writing, also artistry, and living like a poetic life. I think a life that is intentional, a life that's observational.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot in Gather sometimes, about poetry being observational and just sort of looking into the world and noticing. But before we begin, why don't we start, Helen, with just a little bit of your background in poetry and writing, and maybe that also takes you back to visual artistry, perhaps. When did you, very early on in your life, figure out or discover that you had a sense or sort of like an inclination towards art?
I think it's just always been part of me. You know, I was a voracious reader as a kid. I used to write a lot as a kid, and sort of teachers recognized early that I was, sort of very proficient in language. My grade one teacher sent in one of my pieces to the Toronto Star, and it got published in grade one, and like in grade four. The librarian had another one framed in the library at school. So, had a little bit of recognition early, and was always drawing and doing drawing classes and taking art classes all throughout high school. Yeah, so that's was my, truest inclination for what I would like to do growing up. But my parents weren't so keen on it. Same old story. Like I was such a good student and got such good grades, and they just couldn't see a way that being an artist or studying art would translate into a career. So, even though my high school art teacher called them in and said, here's some programs, look at these. They were like, absolutely not. So, I ended up just going to university to do a general arts degree, and then quickly realized that the only classes I was really going to were the art classes and the art history classes. Yeah. So ended up switching to a double art history and studio degree and graduating that way. And then after that worked in some commercial galleries. And then, this is like a long time ago before the internet started. So when web design started to become a thing, I went back and got a degree in digital media design. And that was great. That was a great sort of melding of my creative abilities, but also, a place where I could get a real job. So from there, I ended up worked at a few small design studios, and then ended up working for Chapters Indigo, which was like my dream because it's a bookstore.
Absolutely.
And getting to market, make all of the, assets and do all the design for newsletters and the website itself. I remember it was back in the day when Harry Potter was coming out and getting to do those Harry Potter campaigns.
That was you, Helen.
Yeah, like it was, I remember they were, how are we going to do this? And I'm like, we need to have the owl, the white owl, to announce the next book. And so that whole campaign, it was just, so fun, so cool.
Wow. Was it at Chapters Indigo that you caught the book bug? The idea that one day one of those books could become yours? Helen?
Probably. I also worked at the library during high school.
Okay.
And that was, a dream too.
Yeah.
Just checking them in, checking them out, shelving them. What's in this one? Coming home with stacks, So I think I've just always had a book in me for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it's like the environment that you're in that can sometimes plant the seed.
Exactly.
Right? And maybe it takes a while until it's like fully formed and fully birthed, but it's in there the whole time, like slowly growing and growing and growing.
Exactly.
Speaking of books, Helen, you released your debut.
I did.
This year. I have it with me today, Cliffs and Cathedrals. It's absolutely stunning, not only the cover, but also inside, like the way that it's designed the intentionality with which you've ordered your pieces. I noticed when I was reading it too.
Thank you. Yeah.
I find there's a lot of intersections, a lot of marriages of art in your book. And I'm really intrigued and keen to hear your thoughts on how has that played out in your life? Like you've taken an interest in writing fiction from a very young age and got published in grade 1 in the Toronto Star. That's crazy. That needs to go in your bio somewhere.
I forgot all about it
so
until
jealous.
recently, and I found it in a box, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I hadn't been published before, but look, I was.
That's incredible. People dream of being published in the Star. Like, amazing. So I guess, like, has it been something like a buffet for you where throughout your life you go to different, like, visual art and then poetry and then fiction? Or is it more of a timeline where chronologically you've moved through these mediums?
I think I wrote a lot when I was younger, and then I wouldn't say writing was a general practice for me for most, besides writing essays and things like that.
Yeah.
It's only in the last few years that I've started writing again. So, so it's been more about visual art, and that's been, a lot of stops and starts, and depending on what's going on in my life, but it's always sort of there. I've done lots of different things. So,
does poetry feel in the same way that visual art does? Like the way that you actually feel in your body when you're finishing a painting or a piece of artwork, that you feel like you've captured something mysterious and beautiful and delicious. Does it feel the same way in your body when you finish a poem?
It is. It's very similar. It's sort of I love the puzzle of a painting or the puzzle of a poem, like I think in both cases I tend to make a lot of mess and just sort of intuitively move through both, not really knowing where I'm ending up, and then shape it afterwards, and that moment when the pieces are fitting and you're done.
Yeah, and it takes time sometimes, right?
It does.
Do you sometimes, when you're working on a visual piece, do you have to let it sit and like sort of marinate for a while without you touching it?
Yes, for sure.
And then does that also happen to you when you're writing a poem? Like, do you come back to poems after a while?
I come back to them and clean them up, but I think, like I'll come back and look at them and decide if they're worthy to be cleaned up. I don't know if I have to do as much editing with the poems as sometimes I do with the visual art. And I think I have a tendency to overwork a painting sometimes too.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, it was maybe better a little more honest a few steps ago before I got too fine with it. Whereas, and maybe I do that with my poetry too, but I'm not sure.
I think we always, as poets, we edit one draft too many.
Yeah.
I've always noticed that it's like, if I keep track of my drafts, which I do in a Google Docs, I don't ever delete. I just copy and paste and edit.
Yeah.
It's usually like, let's say there's 9 drafts of a poem, or 7, let's say. It's usually the one right, like the second last one that feels right.
Yeah.
And because near the end, you get a little bit trigger happy with the cutting, right?
Exactly.
And
yeah, or
sure.
add in another, word that doesn't need to one too many descriptive words.
Yeah.
Or, just make it a little too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
100%. I was curious, just the idea of, growing up and having this foundation of art in your life and a knowing sort of deep down, but then a career path not being perhaps aligned with the desires of your heart, especially in a school system where I think when one has good grades, I remember being in high school and being encouraged to go into STEM. Because if you have the good grades, don't waste them, right?
Right.
Get into science, get into engineering. And a lot of my friends did. And I have found, even just hearing about my parents, a lot of my parents' friends go into their art thing like 20, 30 years later.
Right.
Did it feel special to you when you found your niche with web design, where it felt like, okay, now I have that job, but I also get to still like keep this fire, like this flame alive? Because it sounds to me like that never went out for you.
No. I think I can try to ignore it, but it's just something I have to do, I'm only doing myself a disservice if I'm not accessing some creative part of myself. And I've seen what happens when I don't allow myself that. So it was definitely a relief to have a job where I could use that part of my brain every day.
Yeah.
And still have something that my parents are like, okay, she's good. She's got a job.
Yeah, for sure.
She's not going to be, an artistic bum with nothing, And it's funny. I tell my kids, you have to follow what you love. Like I couldn't have dreamt that I would end up being in the digital space because that didn't exist. Like my first day of digital media design school, I had to ask the girl next to me how to turn the computer on.
Wow.
Like I didn't know anything.
Well, it's all new.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I'm like, you just have to follow what you love, and who knows what the world's going to look like, what's going to appear that can be a viable option for you for a career. But don't go off in the other direction because you think it's like the smart thing to do or the safe thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the universe rewards that courage, that level of courage.
Right.
I saw an Instagram reel today and someone said, the universe rewards courage, not credentials. And I thought that was really interesting because
it really is, yeah.
In a way, when one runs in the direction of the thing that's calling you, you can kind of create your own credentials. And I think the arts world is a great example of that. Like, yes, there are these, master's programs for art. There are these school programs. You can go to art school, you can go to music school, but a lot of famous artists, a lot of famous writers, a lot of famous poets didn't go that direction. So it is an option for sure, and it's valid. Obviously, people go that direction and it works out for them. But you can kind of forge your own credentials in a way.
Yeah.
And I think it only happens with courage, really.
Yeah.
In the end. Like, what else is there besides courage, I think?
And trusting yourself and your voice.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
You said that you've noticed what's happened in your life when you don't allow yourself to access creative energy. Do you want to talk about a time in your life where maybe that was the case?
Yeah, like probably right before I started writing, there's always a lot going on, but my kids are older now. Like my daughter's 20, my son is almost 18. But this is so, just at the end of my daughter ending high school, we're through the pandemic, that sort of thing. A lot of stressful events going on. My mother passed, and
I'm sorry.
I got really sick, like we were building our house, so we'd moved out to another space, and I didn't have any of my art stuff with me. And I think I just deny myself that the time to work on my own crafts when other things are busy, looking after the kids and the family and everything else, my mother, everything that is going on. And it just hit a point where I got very, very sick. And I think there's been a couple of points in my life where it's like, okay, this is where you need to reset and do lots of work, obviously, on myself emotionally. But the way to access that and to process what I'm going through is always creatively. So during that time where I didn't have a studio available or everything was in boxes for a couple of years, that's when I found writing. I just, found an online writing immersion with Victoria Erickson. She's out of Texas, and she's amazing. And, showed up to that first virtual class going, what am I doing here?
Right.
Listen to all these writers. They're amazing. I don't know if I can do this. And just kept showing up. And now it's like a regular part of my week, like non-negotiable. Everybody knows. Mom's not available. Sundays between 12 and 3. Mom's not available. Tuesdays between 6 and 9 because she's in her writing immersion. And that is just the way it is.
That's incredible.
And that's how this book happened.
I think that really speaks to the power not only of the release that writing gives in a stress cycle.
Yeah.
Like I read a book on stress a long time ago, and it was by Emily Nagoski. I'm not saying that name correctly, so I'm gonna have to correct myself, like in the captions or something. But the book talks about this idea that stress becomes a problem in life when it's not completed. Like stress is an everyday thing that happens for most of us, but it's a cycle that needs to find a completion.
Yeah.
And when it's completed, then one can move through the day again, or move into it becomes chronic when it's not completed. And I think for me too, it shows up in my body when my stress cycle is not being completed. It's like my body gets sick, and the body responds to these things not being completed. But I think creativity is one of those things that can complete the stress cycle. I think that's like because
it's just building. And if you're not giving it a release, your body's gonna tell you.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. The body doesn't lie.
In the most
right?
extreme ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your writing schedule, and I want to talk more about this because I think there's something to be said for intentionally scheduling this time into your schedule, letting people around you know, hey, like this is so important to me that you can't actually talk to me during this time, right?
Yeah.
I think that's so important. Is that something you learned and developed early on in your writing thing, or has it been more of a recent sort of?
It's just from signing up with Victoria's Immersions, and those are the dates and the times, and I'm like, I'm going to commit to doing this. And now, and as I got more into it, now I kind of have to, if I miss that part of my week, I really feel it. And some days I'm better at getting, the writing's a lot better than it is other days, right?
Yeah.
I did have sort of after the release of this book, and it's been a lot happen, getting my son through the last little bit of high school and lots of events with the kids. And they've both gone off to camp, to work at camp all summer. So we are kind of empty nesters now. Like we'll be taking my son to university in like the fall, and that's it, So there's a little bit of grieving.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening in the last couple of weeks. So I would get to class and I'd just be like, I can't write. But I still sat there and listened to everybody else. Yeah. And sometimes just typed, I can't write,
Yeah.
But the last two have been a lot more. I had a session last night and on Sunday, and
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming back.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. The tiptoe, the baby steps of you feeling it coming back is so exciting.
It is.
But it can be frustrating when you're sitting there and you're like, nothing is coming. But I do think sometimes like the muse is this like wild deer. I kind of explain it sometimes, and it's like you have to hold your hand out with food over and over and over and over again, and trust that eventually it's going to be curious enough to come and eat from your hand.
I love that.
But when you refuse to stretch out your hand, it will likely not come, right? You have to give it the opportunity to come. And those moments too, I think, of sitting there sometimes is as quote unquote productive as actually writing. Right. Because you're letting things again like marinate. Maybe you just didn't have enough like built up yet for it to like sort of start coming out.
Yeah, well, sometimes I can tend to be a little reclusive and not leave my house much. And I'm like, I need to get out in the world and live a little so I have something to write about,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think creativity rewards as someone who lives with their eyes wide open and just goes and like it does things, and sort of finds these like joyous, intentional moments. And it doesn't really necessarily always have to be like a grand party that you go to. Like even just going to the post office and noticing small little things about people like grabbing their mail. I was at the post office the other day, and it's really cool to watch people open their mailbox because you can see on their face whether they like what they got or not.
That's so interesting.
And like, someone opens it up and it's bills, you can tell it's just made their day awful. And then someone else opens it up and you just wonder, or I do anyways, I'm like, maybe that was a love letter,
And then you create a whole story, which is exactly what we need to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like creating these stories like over and over in our head.
Yeah. Yeah, I was out for dinner with my husband last week, and we were in a nice restaurant, and there was a whole family, like multi-generational, celebrating someone's birthday, I guess. And at one point I watched the two little girls who I think are cousins getting their hamburgers delivered to them. And because it was sort of a fancy place, they had the condiments in a little, like here's the ketchup in a little dish and the mustard and the mayo or whatever. And just watching the way the two of them dealt with their hamburgers, like one just attacked it right away, and one of them is delicately putting, what is this one? Okay, and I'm like, that alone, like I had to sit and take notes on my phone because I'm like, perfect descriptor of a characters, like if you want to talk about the opposites and their personalities and how their two little girls are dealing with their hamburger and French fries, right?
It's a short story right there, and you might have to write it.
Yeah, it's in my notes.
Do you ever see yourself coming back to your roots in fiction?
There's some, I started working on a novel, very preliminary.
Love it.
But it's building in my head. I have at least 3 novel ideas in the back of my head all the time.
Amazing.
So that's my next goal.
I love that.
Give it a shot.
I think there's when someone writes a poetry collection first and then a novel, the novel is something really special.
Yeah.
Because you can always tell when a fiction book was written originally by a poet because the prose is just so stunning. It's just gorgeous. You can't help it, right?
Right.
You can't help but make your language beautiful in a novel when you are a poet.
That's what I hope for, yeah.
I think that will be really, really exciting. Helen.
Because this, I think, this is, Close to Cathedrals is so personal and such a processing of my own, trauma and everything. I just had to get that out, like that just had to be its thing. Like, I know it's too long. I know it's too, but it just had to be its thing, get out in the world so I can move past it. And as soon as I did it, the ideas started coming,
for sure.
Otherwise if I didn't produce that, it was going to block whatever was coming next. So
yeah, it's like completing the cycle. Maybe creatively, maybe as creative people, that's applies as well. Like there's creative cycles perhaps.
Yeah.
And when we complete one cycle, then it's like, okay, now we can kind of move on to the next.
And I'm also itching to start painting again too. So, which I haven't for a while. So that's
very exciting. Oh my gosh. I'm so inspired by you, Helen, and just the way that you're able to, with grace and with it, you make it look effortless. I know it isn't. It isn't. But really and truly, you have this grace with which you write poetry and the way that you show up in poetry community and also just as an artist.
Oh, thank you.
And I think you're embodying what it means to live a creative life. Yeah. And I heard a quote a long time ago. Again, I don't know who this was by. I'm so bad at this. But they said, living a creative life is choosing to live creatively over... No, I'm getting it wrong. A creative life is choosing creativity over fear most of the time.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting. And I think maybe for me, especially, fear is something that can block me. And it's like courage and fear kind of, we were talking about courage being the thing that can kind of be like the scaffolding or the bridge to get you to the dream that you want. And maybe fear is that thing that is like the dog that barks and stops you from over, like getting over that bridge to the next thing that you want.
Yeah.
Because I have some ideas for novels too. And I think sometimes I'm like, I do the thing where I'm like, I have all of these things going on. I don't have time to write it right now. Or like, I'm a poet. What am I trying to do to write fiction? But I think every writer has a novel idea. Yeah. Everyone I've ever talked to, they're like, well I have an idea.
Like, Margaret Atwood writes both poetry and fiction, Exactly. Why can't we?
Yeah. And it's nice too, because we have our entire life to do these things. Like if I want to write a novel when I'm 40, I will. Or if, like it's very reassuring to me that the timeline is not set out in stone, but it's also kind of like until the day that I die. Yeah. Which hopefully is a long time away from now. But I have so much time. Like we all have so much time.
You have a little more time than I have.
Oh, you got plenty, Helen.
But really, like I am like in my 50s now, and I'm like just finally getting to this thing, and I'm glad I have this to look forward to now that my kids are going and living their lives, I'm excited, I'm sad, but I'm excited.
What was it like in your motherhood journey, finding time for the thing that lights you up amongst, because I want to become a mother one day, hopefully soon. And that's something that I'm nervous about.
It was messy.
Yeah. Was it messy?
Because so I was working in Indigo, very happy, dream job, I had my daughter, a couple years later I had my son. And then you're sort of in this situation where you're like doing the math, right? Like, okay, we've got 2 full day that we got to pay full daycare for, not in school, not even school age yet. And looking at what my salary was and, traveling downtown and all the other, variables and not ending up with much left. Right. So I was like, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. I'm going to do this. So I stayed home. And wasn't long before, we had this old house in the beaches, upper beaches, with a creepy little basement that wasn't really finished, like.
Yeah, one of those.
And I remember hiring a babysitter just to come for like 2 hours because I'm like, I need to start drawing or doing something. And I would go and be by the furnace, like in the creepy little basement, like just with a sketchbook, like, doing? I don't even know what am I drawing? Like, what am I drawing that spider? Like, what am I doing? But I needed that time, And then when they started, going to kindergarten and going to school, I'd walk them to the schoolyard. And it was a weird little, nice neighborhood we lived in, but it was I guess a lot of women in my boat, like, had done the math. So there was a lot of stay-at-home moms.
Yeah, for sure.
And they'd all be hanging around the schoolyard and chit-chatting with their coffees and whatever. And I'd be like, I've got to get home. Like,
yeah.
I got to go do my creative time. And they'd be like,
Yeah.
what do you got to do? And I'm like,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I think, I had a few side eyes, I think, because I had stuff I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then I started doing a lot of digital art more for kids, like personalized stuff for kids, like I would scan in paintings and drawings, and it was like a digital collage kind of scenario. And then I could personalize, for a kid's room, right? Canvases, pillows,
Gotcha.
things like that. So because that was the realm I was in.
Yeah.
And then I'd, after trying not, thinking I was quitting my job and staying home to raise my kids, I end up with like this art business, and doing like fairs and carting my stuff around.
Oh my God, I didn't know this, Helen.
Crazy, like fairs out in the park or like pop-ups here and there. I had a pop-up shop once with another artist.
Wow.
Like, I really made things busy, but there wasn't. And then I met another artist who was from the community in the beaches, and she encouraged me to apply to be part of the Beach Studio Tour, which is this tour, used to be a tour twice a year through the beaches. And you'd open your home to Toronto basically for 3 days. People just come in.
Wow. Oh my God.
Hang your whole house. The stuff my kids have seen me do. So it'd be like, clean the house. And then take down all the art. And then I would start paint. Oh, so this is why I started painting again, because this tour had been around for a long time. And you submit your portfolio, and the people who ran it were a lot older and didn't understand the fact that I was doing digital work.
Oh.
Because there was no true original.
Right.
So they're like, we like her work. She can join us if she starts making original work. So then I had to start painting.
Right.
And that, like in the creepy basement, often through the night,
Really?
Like, so then I started doing the studio tour, and that was twice a year, hang the whole house with art. It was great.
Wow.
But you got your tea and your cookies, and people are just walking in the front door. And
I love it. I want to do this with poetry.
And like, hi, welcome to my house. And, here's everything's for sale. And so that's how I started painting again. And then I started I did the One of a Kind show a couple of times. Do you know what that is?
I don't know.
So it's also been around for a long time. It's a huge sale twice a year, spring and Christmas time, down in the exhibition in Toronto.
Okay.
And, it's supposed to be handcrafted things. It's changed a bit through the years.
Yeah.
So everybody wants to get in the Christmas show because that's where all the money is.
Right.
But they kind of make you do a couple spring shows
Okay.
to, pay your dues and prove that you can do it. So I did 2 spring shows with little kids. Like, my husband would come, hang up the shelves. You got to make your own booth, like, whole week. Like, it's a lot.
That's a lot with 2 kids.
Yeah. So basically, I was just burning myself out, because I would work all night.
Right.
And then you're doing websites, you're doing promotion, you're trying to do it all. And I was loving it, but I was hating it. And then I think I got into the Christmas show. And we had a particularly busy summer. My mom was being a complicated relationship with my mother, very demanding. Things were busy with the kids. I just didn't get the work done through the summer that I was hoping to prepare for it. Kids went back to school and came home one day and they had lice.
No. Oh my God. On top of everything else.
And that was my breaking point.
Yeah.
Like, my husband came down to find me at 3 a.m. Like, I can't do it, because I'm like, I can't deal with the lice. Like, I can't deal with the lice and with everything else. And he's like, no. Walk away. We're walking away. We're done. So I stopped it right there. I stopped.
Yeah.
Because it just wasn't worth it anymore.
That probably was terrifying, but at the same time might have been
the best decision.
Yeah. The biggest release probably ever.
Yeah. But I tried, for a long time, but I'm not sure it was like I look back now and I'm like, I'm glad I did it, but I'm also a little sad because I know I just wore myself right out.
Yeah. I think that's the hard thing about being self-employed is that it can, because you're doing everything, it can be it's so easy to make the ratio of the time you're working on the art that you love and the time that you're working on getting the art to people to see.
Yeah.
Like, and you can't do one without the other, really.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's hard when, like, even for myself, like running Gather, doing the podcast, all of these things, I love all of them.
Yeah.
But I have to be really careful not to let that encroach on my actual writing time. And it's like saying no, right? Like saying no to things that are good opportunities, but you'll just like, and I have not figured it out either. Like I've had these moments where I'm crying too, and I'm like, this is too much, you know? With Substack, I took a pause this year from it because it was really too much. And I think sometimes it's hard when everyone is doing the thing and they're like, this is how you should be doing it. It's good. It's going to help you in your career. And it probably will.
Yeah.
But to be able to say, like, you know what, like my mental health, how I feel about what I do every day is more important.
Right.
That's so scary to do.
I know. And I've had to be like that too. Like I look at Substack and I'm overwhelmed. Like I just don't think I could touch it.
Yeah.
Like there's people I love on there and I would try to read their things, but I don't even get to that, you know?
Yeah.
Instagram's more manageable, but I'm still not like, even, you know, since the book came out, I'm kind of taking a little break, right? Trying not to look at it well as I'm not really putting content on. And I just have to be okay with that.
Absolutely.
You know, I try to just handle it intuitively. Like if some days I'm like, no, today's the day for a poem. Which poem is it? I don't know. Trust myself that way.
I think that's the best way, honestly, because that is what comes across as authentic anyways.
Yeah.
And I think in a world of like oversaturation of content, we really are looking for authenticity. That's what everyone is looking for.
Yeah.
And so I think showing up like that is not only good for oneself, but also as an example for your children and for other people that are watching your stuff online. Like, I think that's definitely the best way to go. And that's what I've been doing too. Like I've been taking a back seat as well, just from even going on it. I'm trying to do things IRL in real life. Yes. Like this. Like I try to remember this is real life.
Exactly.
Right? Like the people you meet, the communities that you create. Sorry, Corey, did you have a moment?
No, I was double checking everything. I was hoping you'd just continue.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Do you want to give us a timestamp quick?
32-minute mark.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. We can
just keep gabbing.
Yeah, keep gabbing.
No, but I will just keep gabbing. So.
Oh, yeah. Me too. Okay, what was I saying? I was talking about Instagram. I was going to say, I've also been kind of taking a bit of a backseat with Instagram for the last, I would say like 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to remember like the things that are important, our community that you create. And yes, I've been so fortunate enough to create an amazing community online, but I want to take those online connections and bring them in person.
Right.
Because I think like they're powerful online, but they're just tenfold more powerful in person.
Yeah.
And I want to live my life in the real world. Yeah. Even though I think social media is so wonderful for creating opportunities, and I thank my lucky stars every day for the opportunities I've gotten from social media. Mm-hmm. I will live my life until I'm like 90 years old on the physical earth, right? Yeah. And I don't want to forget that. Yeah. I don't want to live up in my head. I don't want to live on my screen, and I want to have children, and I want to watch them be in awe of tomatoes and all these beautiful, stunning things, and I want to write about them, and I want to have I want physical books of poetry, you know? Exactly. That's feeling like really good for me lately, and it just feels grounding, you know?
Yeah, and like doing the Chicago event, or you know, just us meeting like this.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
You know, it's so important.
You can't beat it,
no,
for sure.
You really can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel the same way about Substack, by the way. I try to remember that there's always going to be another thing. Yeah. Substack is going to ride its wave for maybe 5-6 years, and then there'll be another thing. And
I just can't do the hustle. Like, I just don't want to do the hustle. Yeah. I'm tired. Like, I just want to enjoy what I'm doing, and it reaches who it reaches, and that's
100%. And you know? I think it's a testament to you've been able to say no once to the thing that drove you to burnout, and recognizing that ahead of time, and recognizing or realizing like, this is what feels good in my body. This is not like, I don't want to be led to another burnout. I don't want to be sick again.
No,
you know?
No, because I can do that to myself.
Yeah. I
have
think
done that to
people who
myself.
are go-getters, which I think you are, you're
Yeah.
like someone who, I get the sense that when you want something in life, you're going to freaking get it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I think people like that sometimes. I think I'm kind of one of those people myself too. When I want something, I have an idea, I go for it. It can sometimes be really hard to realize like not everything has to be taken and not everything has to not every opportunity has to be squeezed out for its every last like bit of juice, you know. It's okay to leave it and to be happy with the things that we kind of like do have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I just always sort of like throw myself way ahead to the thing and then work back and, like comfort zone, like way out, work my way back to, now I figured out how to do it. And it's just the way I do things. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
gets me somewhere.
It does for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. I have more questions about
Yes,
the
please.
book.
Yeah.
Was there a point in time when you were writing the book or curating it or putting it all together where it surprised you, Helen? Or was there something about the process where you're like, I didn't realize this was going to come up for me?
So it was really just it wasn't started with the intention of a book. I was just writing in the immersions, did that solid for years, 3 years, accumulated so much stuff. And that's what I love, like when we're sharing in the group, when we're reading to each other, and then you see the reactions you get, like you're like, okay, actually, I trust that some of this is good,
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to do something with it. And then having to review all of that stuff and sort of put it into piles. Like I have a whole other book ready to go when I went ready to edit it, just more nature type inspired things.
Okay.
But this, thematically, I'm like, okay, this is the healing, this is the processing of all of my trauma, all of my stuff. But yeah, it was surprising, especially, like I had my husband printed all out at work and all pieces of, like it was like trying to order things. And I'm like, oh, there is a story here. It's wild. There really is a story here. And just the way I tried to juxtapose pieces against each other and sort of switch, first person to third person. And I was intentional about stuff like that, but it really was quite surprising how if there was a beginning and an end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes even in a poetry collection where things aren't always narrative, I love when I'm reading a poetry collection and it takes me somewhere. Like there's a very clear sort of beginning where we're starting, and then we go on this journey with this poet throughout their sort of, and it's not always explicitly obvious exactly what's happening, but I like that. I like that mystery and the ambiguity kind of. And I definitely feel like there's this like arc within your book, Helen. When you were writing it, did you feel like it was like things were coming up for you as you were writing it, like in your, like going back to some of the earlier poems, especially in your book, was there like emotional sort of maybe, like, was it emotionally charged for you to have to go back to those moments?
Yeah, but it was necessary because I had gotten to a crisis point and I needed to work through it, and my health wasn't going to get better if I didn't address these things, if I didn't really look at them, if I didn't really, write these things and feel them again and remember and try and give them honor them. Yeah.
That's a good word, honor.
Yeah. I have a friend who's a trauma psychotherapist, and but we never worked together, and she probably didn't even know a lot of my story. But she has the book and came to my launch, and she said to me afterwards, that was integration. Like, your book is a beautiful integration of trauma and moving. It was like, I have goosebumps all over. Like, it was the most beautiful thing anybody's ever said to me about the work.
Yeah.
She's like, this is, I can't even say it as eloquently as she did, but honoring, retelling. It's now part of historical fact. It's part of my backstory. It has no more charge. It has no more effect on my future, but I have, recorded it and creatively dealt with it.
I think that's like the testament to the power of poetry to be able to hold you on the page. And it's like the page will not judge. The page, it does not judge good or bad. It just holds. And it's like this vehicle, this beautiful neutral vehicle for the poet then to put themselves onto it and then I love that you said historical fact, because it's like a reclamation of you and
Yeah.
your story. And this is you saying that is what happened.
Yeah.
And this is what we're left with.
Yeah.
I think that's just nothing more powerful than that.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And you're so brave for like taking the time to put that all into your story
But listen,
and onto
like
the page.
the day I was like, it's available, was like freak out, you know, but
I
I'm
can only
okay now.
imagine.
But it was just sort of
Yeah.
like, what have I done? What have I done? But it's okay. It's okay.
It is, yeah, I think so. And I think also sometimes poets, I mean, I get scared to write some of these things because I'm like, what will that person think? What will they know that this was about them? Or is it going to hurt someone? But I think, again, like poetry doesn't care. It's it's us that cares.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like freeing to think that your poem doesn't care if it's going to hurt someone. Your poem doesn't care. Like you can kind of like breathe into it, whatever you want to like breathe into it.
Yeah.
How did you navigate feeling like this is a very deep personal story that I'm writing and other people are going to read it?
I don't, yeah, it's, how do I navigate it? I was definitely, I don't know if I could have written this if my parents were alive. One thing. I was a little worried about my sister. My husband read it first, and he's not a poet. He's a very business, like
Yeah.
he balances out my
I'm the same with Corey.
my I want to say crazy, but it's not crazy. But my creative energy, my surplus of it.
You're wild.
Yes, my wild. And so he read it first, and he had it for a few days, and I was like, "What do you think? What do you think?" And he's like, "It's dark." And I'm like, "Really?" Like he reads like Roman historical fiction with battles and blood, and like people killing each other, and I'm like, "This is dark," But I think it just struck him, but I'm like, I think there's a lot of light in there too, and there's a lot of hope in there too. But yeah, that was interesting, because I was like, oh, am I putting something so dark out in the world? And I would have to read it again and again and again. I'd come down to dinner and be like, I've just read it again. It's good. And the kids are like, okay. And I'm like, I'm just retelling myself it's good. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. I think I was, it's interesting, I think that's the beauty of being in your 50s. I don't care as much as I used to. Like 20-year-old Helen couldn't have done that. I don't know. 40-year-old Helen could have done that. 52-year-old Helen, she's got this, right?
I love that.
So it's okay. Like I still worry a little bit about a few people, but then it's my life.
I think that, that's very bold, and that's the truth. Like it's our life.
Yeah.
And I think if we worry about that, I think that can block instant creativity.
Yeah.
Or at least it's natural to worry about that, I think. But if it overtakes the desire and the sort of like almost inhibited, I don't know.
I know.
How do you say that word?
Yes, we know what we're talking about. I know.
You're the best.
Yeah. But that's the courage we're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
And the people who have random people from my life that, maybe I haven't talked to forever, who had picked it up and read it and have written to me and told me some things about their lives, like, I'm like, this is like an honor. Like I have I have to really respect when people come to me in that way and realize responsibility in that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I love it because it's, a poem is almost always like a two-way, like it's a two-person tango. It's the poet and then the reader.
Yeah.
And the beauty of sharing it, we've talked about sort of the challenges of sharing it, but the beauty of it is that you get to dance with another person in that way. And maybe the poem that you wrote isn't necessarily how they interpret it for their life, but again, like maybe that's kind of also a good thing.
Yeah.
And it can start these like important conversations, and these like maybe it starts their own journey of healing.
Exactly. That's the goal, to inspire people to move forward and deal with it creatively, or however else they need to, their own story.
Yeah, it's like planting that seed in that person's life. I think that's so special, Helen.
Thank you. Yeah.
One of my favorite poems in your
I'd love to
book.
hear what your favorite poem is.
I love this poem for many reasons. It's called "The Door Is Finally Opening," but it felt like a turning poem in your collection. Like, it really felt like I would say, a little past the halfway mark, and it felt like we have turns in poems, but then we also have turns in poetry books, in poetry collections, and this one felt like it. What I love about this poem is, to me, it feels like a painting. And like the way that you describe the line, the arsenic green paint peeling, the protruding carvings, the fragile tips. And you talk about wood grain naked. And then there's another one. Where is it? In the jasmine drenched courtyard. Like, you have this way with your words, Helen, that's very unique. And I don't think I've ever read poetry like it. You really do paint your poems. And I think this is like your edge. This is your unique ability to combine the visual art skills and sort of intuitions that you have with your poetry. When you were writing this poem, did it feel like, was that intentional, or does this just come like naturally to you?
Well, I think it is because I'm such a visual person. I have to write visually. That just comes naturally. Was it intentional? I think I started with those doors. So those doors that I'm talking about, we've just built this house in the last couple of years. But before, when we were just taking down the original bungalow and dreaming of what it was to be, I found these antique doors from Egypt. I think they're like 130 years old. There's a place called the Door Store, and they have all these amazing doors, and they are this arsenic green, but really peeled, and like the kicking of the bottom, like they were exterior doors, I guess, to somebody's house, or a courtyard to a house, perhaps. And so we had them restored just enough so that they still had their patina and like stuff, but just lightly brushed and the tips fixed and stuff. So I was describing those. They're like closet doors in my hallway now. And then I guess through describing that, then it becomes like that's the doorway into where the rest of the poem goes, I think.
Yeah, it's the perfect
and
metaphor.
that would be a surprising thing. So when I'm going through all the work, I'm like, I have 3 doorway poems here. One's got a closed door, one's got a door that's starting to open, and then there's an open door. And so when I pepper those through the book, but I didn't do that intentionally.
Really?
It just happened.
It just happened. Wow.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when you're in tune with your creativity, those things happen intuitively, but your subconscious probably knew.
Yeah.
Like somehow when you were ordering it, like your subconscious was doing that work for you.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of like being a creative person. If your creativity is like, when it's like, it's honed, it's like really on, those things, it kind of does it for you in a way.
Oh, and the jasmine.
Yeah. Tell me about
My
that.
husband and I took a trip last year, at least went to Barcelona and then up the coast. And when we were up the coast, or even when we were in Barcelona, we'd just be touring around and I would say to the guide, I'm like, what's that smell? Like, what is that floral? And, I don't know, and I'm like looking at bushes. I'm looking for flowers. Like it was following me, the scent.
Right.
So we end up going up the coast and we decide to do a little day trip to the Salvador Dali Theater Museum. Do you know about this place?
So I haven't been, but I've heard about it.
Like, there's nothing like it.
Really?
Nothing like it. It's just the most surreal, like, because it's like eggs on the roof. It's wild. It is your imagination exploded. Wow. Like his imagination. And then I learned we had a guide taking us through there too. And we walk into the courtyard and she's like, this is jasmine. This was Dali's. He uses it in a lot of his work. This symbolic significance to him was, I can't tell you right now, but it was like prolific. And it had been following me the whole trip. And listen, sometimes I feel like I channel these, like I do. Like, I know I do. I channel stuff. and I'm like, Dolly's been talking to me the whole time. He's 100%. Been talking to me the whole time. Like, because it was, we beforehand, I'm like, Dad, do we really want to do that trip? I'm like, I've never really been that into Dolly. My husband really wanted to go. Then I had a massage a little while the next day. And Dolly's right here going. and you thought you weren't that into me, I was like, I am amazed.
You're just enthralled.
Yeah. It was like,
Wow, I think he was like wooing you almost. And because memory is associated with scent,
Yes,
right? So
yeah.
I wonder if like there was things that were being like channeled. Yeah, like channel, I think is the right word, like through that scent almost, right?
you know what's even crazier?
Tell me.
I didn't know you were going to talk to me about this poem. I was thinking about jasmine 2 days ago and looking up what perfumes have jasmine in them.
No.
Like, how can I keep that with me? I need to find a perfume or something with jasmine.
Absolutely.
And then here we are talking about it.
Here we are talking about it. Salvador Dali, was he the one who did the lobster telephone?
Or it was lobster telephone. Like you see the melted clocks,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But this is like his actual he's buried there.
Wow.
In this theater. And like you just have to go there. Like you just
Amazing.
like I can't even describe the assemblages and the like there's one piece that you have to stand. If you look through your phone, the whole image changes because it's like made pixelated. It's in the big courtyard.
Yeah.
There was no phones.
Wow. And he was already creating pixelated
stuff. Yeah. Like he's a time traveler. I don't know. There's some crazy.
That's crazy.
Like I was just like, there's one piece that I can't stop thinking about. And I remember our guide said, Dali says that in 1,000 years, this will be his most important piece.
Really?
All it is you know, those glass, they're like, my dad used to collect them. Like they were on top of like telephone poles. Like or there's something to do with electrical. You would see them in antique shops. They're like glass, like insulators or something.
Okay,
I don't really know what their purpose is.
Okay.
Something to do with electricity.
Right.
There's one on top of like a beam with like a rope. Like it's just like a very simple sculpture.
Right.
And I don't understand why it's going to be the most important one in 1,000 years.
I'm so stumped.
I know. But there was just so many. Anyway. It was a magical experience.
It almost feels
there.
like prophetic. Like I wonder if there were like he was a bit of a prophet for like the future.
Yeah.
With the pixelation.
Yeah.
And then that's so intriguing. You know what this makes me think? That all poets need a scent. What if we all need like something to channel our like a certain incense or like I don't think I do that enough. Like I don't set the mood enough when I write.
When I first started, I was always lighting incense, and I've stopped doing it. And I need to start doing it again, I think. Because it does just signal like, okay, we're on. You know?
Yeah. I think there's these like little rituals and things that help like romanticize the idea of like sitting down to like just like write. Because sometimes it can feel like work if it's like something you're doing because the words aren't coming and you're just sitting. You know what I mean? But I think we can like even woo the muse like that.
Yeah.
Right. We can
and signal the body it's time to, you know?
Yeah.
Like when I paint, I put this barrier cream on my hands because I often touch, you know, when you're not really supposed to, like, so it sort of helps protect your skin, right? But that would be like my little ritual, like putting this hand cream on and it's go time.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've been thinking of ways to maybe do a little ritual or something before we start writing and gather.
Yeah.
Like, because I come from a religious background and like, I don't want to do a prayer.
Right.
But like I like the idea of like a little something before a meal. I think that's such a cool thing.
Yes, yeah.
Like just the tradition of like
There's
a little
something
blessing.
wrong with gratitude and blessings. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something for us to signal like now we're on and writing. But I'm gonna like muster on that this summer and see if I can come up with something. I think that'd be special.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
a little, everyone says like one thing or I don't know. We'll figure it out. I think these are not things to be ignored though.
No.
Because like most artists, most famous writers, they have like something. I think it was Anne Carson who had to have 2 cups of coffee before she started writing.
Okay.
And it was like one was a certain temperature and one was one was I think lukewarm and one was hot. I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it wasn't Anne Carson, maybe it was Anne Sexton. I can't remember. But people have these things, you know.
Sometimes I drink cacao, but I don't do it often enough. You know, like and try and make a little ceremony of that, but I don't do it often enough.
Yeah.
It'd have to be a regular thing.
When we were in Mexico, we picked up some like ceremonial grape cacao, and very, very like deep-rooted spiritual practice
for
there.
sure.
So I think like that could definitely tie in with the writing. Is there anything that people would think is unique about your writing, like routine, or like maybe like you have a little something that people would be surprised to learn about Helen and her writing?
I don't know.
Or like a unique thing that you would like to do one day that people wouldn't expect? Have you ever written like a screenplay or a drama?
I haven't. One of my best friends, I have a lot of, fortunate to have lots of good friends still from primary school.
Yeah.
But one of my best friends from like grade 2, she's a director now in Los Angeles. And I was just talking to her the other day. She's writing a screenplay, and twice now we've talked. And she goes, every time I have a problem, I'm just going to talk to you. Because I love that. Like, I love talking to her. I'm like, okay, what's happening now with the character? Okay, what if this happened? What if she did that? And it's just so exciting. So I'd love to work with her one day on something. I feel in the future we could, because she read this and was like, I don't know, I'm seeing like, can we make this a movie? Can we do something?
No.
Like, she was just like, she had ideas are bouncing for her, and it's so fun to have a friendship that's so old and we know each other's everything, and then to still like have fun creatively together.
For
just
sure.
even the conversation on the phone, it's great.
I think the collaboration there is like what makes art in general fun. It's because everyone does it a little differently, but at the core of it, when you meet someone, and whether you've known them for 25 years or you've like just met them in person for the first time, there's like kinship between just the idea that I have fun playing with these things and so do you.
Yeah.
And what if we did that together?
Exactly.
Like, oh, so amazing. And so many wonderful poetry, like documentaries are being created these days. Like, I really do think because your book has a pretty distinct arc, that I think that there's potential there for even like an interpretation from just like an adaptation from another person's life, maybe even, but like through the lens of your poetry could be really cool.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Because like I could see people seeing themselves in here. I know it's really personal, but you still write in a way that people, I think, could see themselves in your poetry, which is very, very powerful, I think.
Thank you.
Oh, this has been so amazing chatting, Helen.
So great. I love it. I could talk all day.
I know, honestly, too. Do you find that when you're sitting down and it's been a while since you've sort of like created, and maybe you're like connecting with other people, with your friends, and like people that you maybe have like worked with in your poetry group with Victoria, do you find that at the end of the day, like, this is kind of like really what it all kind of like feels like it's about? Or like sometimes I wonder if I'm alone in this, but like it feels like I love to write in isolation, don't get me wrong, but at the same time I feel like what the greatest thing that poetry has ever given me is like finding my people.
Yeah.
And it feels like this is maybe what it's all about.
Yeah, because if we have our own language.
Yeah, we do.
Like we're just see things differently than like we're living just a slightly different version of life than other people. Yeah. Like we're just a little, a
little off the beaten path.
A little, in a bit of a different sphere somehow. And we're bringing it back in.
Yeah, we really are.
Yeah.
Do you see in the near future, that nature poetry collection sort of like coming into the world?
I already have a painting for the cover. I already have a title in mind.
Oh my God, you're there.
I just haven't edited it. And I sat down like probably after this came out and I'm like, okay, time to do this. And I looked at it and I'm like, I don't even like this anymore. I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't the time. I think I just maybe need to give myself a little bit of space, because this took a while. I figured out how to lay it all out. I figured, I did everything myself. So now that I know how to do that, I should be able to do it again very easily. Or
absolutely.
it won't take as long.
When the time is right? I think you'll know, like, okay, it's time to kind of like, and maybe one of your 3 novel ideas in the future as well.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if folks are looking to connect with you and your work, Helen, how can they best, first of all, buy a copy of Cliffs and Cathedrals? I'm going to zoom in on that.
Well, my website is Helen Billett, HelenBillett.ca, 2 T's. So there's a link there to the Amazon links for US. It's on Amazon worldwide. It's on most bookstores, Indigo, Barnes & Noble, a lot of others around the world. So, available all there. And my Instagram is also just Helen Billett. Amazing. And that's it.
Is it in any physical bookstores if folks want to
I
pop by and grab a
have
physical
I have some copies at the Beaches Coles. They've just done them locally to me. Beaches Coles and Scarborough Town Center, the Indigo Spirit that's there so far. That's where they are.
If you can't wait for shipping. It has been an absolute pleasure chatting
I've
with
loved
you,
every
Helen.
minute. Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. And Gather is just like, I'm pretty new to it, but I'm so in. Like,
Oh,
I
I'm
am
so
so
glad.
impressed with what you have created. Like, just in awe. It's such a special place. The writers it attracts are incredible. I'm just so grateful to have found it, and I'm very excited to become even more involved.
Oh, I really appreciate it. It's been truly like a pleasure having you, honestly, Helen. Like when we first connected, I was telling Helen this as soon as she walked in the door to my house today. I was like, I saw her beautiful dresses and her glasses, and I was like, yep.
Bestie.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to be back next week with another episode on the Gather Poets podcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening. And again, pick up a copy of Cliffs and Cathedrals from Helen on her website helenbillett.com. .ca with 2 T's, Helen Billett with 2 T's. Stay tuned and we'll be back soon.